if you're a land investor, stick around. I'm going to walk you through how I think about selecting the best markets in America. I'll kind of walk you through my process. I think the first thing before I share the nitty gritty on it, a lot of land investors are under this impression that market selection doesn't matter, or they're kind of operating through this old paradigm, which back in the day, like when I got started in 2019, it was a game of volume. It was a game of like shotgun blasting out. The idea was take a state and work in the whole state, or work in every county or nearly every county in a state. And so, in that like land investing 1.0 approach, if you will, market selection didn't matter at all, because it's like, screw it. I send marketing, I make money, so I might as well just send as much marketing as possible. And that all changed in 2022. We moved into a completely different cycle in the business. This is what I call land investing 2.0. And so now more than ever, market selection matters. Like, you want to be the precise surgeon in your business with a scalpel. You don't want to be the land investor with a bazooka. And that's what most people are doing. So when we get market selection right, there's two things that we get. One, when we actually buy the deal, there's buyers there to buy it. And that's the hardest thing in the land business right now. Interest rates are high. Liquidity is not what it once was. Real estate cyclical, good times, bad times. And so there's a lot of folks that could buy a land deal relatively easily, but there's not a lot of folks that can sell land deals consistently and make money. So you got to have a buyer there, right? And then the next thing is, okay, we want to be in markets where there's demand, but I also don't want to be in markets where literally every other dingus is working. And honestly, most land investors are dinguses because they play this like follow the leader game, right? So if you go somewhere like, let's say, outskirts of Dallas, dude, everyone and their grandma is working out here because it is strong. It's in the path of progress. There's a lot of rural land. There's a lot of big tracts of land around here. And so this whole, I don't know, whatever, 5 or 6 county circle right here, everyone knows it's hot. Everyone's working there. And so when we send marketing, people are like, brother, I've literally gotten 17 letters this week. Now, can you still do deals? Heck yeah. You can still do deals in a crowded marketplace. But the way I look at it is like, I want to stack the odds in my favor. And then I also want a business that's just super efficient. Spend a dollar. I want to make the most amount of dollars on the other side. And so when we're in markets that are less crowded, there's just more opportunity and less people competing for that opportunity. And so therefore, usually our marketing dollars go further. To kind of make this case in point, and then we'll go through the nitty gritty. I had a Land Insights user, a good friend, great land investor, tell me this story about how he found this kind of needle in a haystack market somewhere in northern Florida. And he was like, dude, this place doesn't even look like it's worth my time. Looks rural, looks just kind of whatever, but I'm going to send some marketing. First campaign hits, he makes whatever, $100,000. I might butcher some of these numbers. Don't quote me on the exact number. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to go back again and market there again. And then same thing, and then same thing. And then fast forward after 6 months, that market had made him $1 million. And it's like, okay, why was that? Like, how are there some markets where you can make $1 million in 6 months and sell your deals quickly? And there's other markets where that just doesn't happen. And so what I've kind of come to the conclusion is it comes down to finding what I call non-obvious high demand markets. Non-obvious high demand markets, okay? There's a lot of markets that are hot, but they're very obvious. Everyone's working there. We want to go slightly off the beaten path and go find markets where there's this imbalance with supply and demand, but hardly anyone's working there. So like really simple, we'll use Land Insights here. Really, really simple. As a starting point, we'll come in and we'll just say, hey, it's got to have more than 100% sell-through rate over the 1 year. Again, just a starting point, okay? And then we'll kind of start toggling around here. So you can see that obviously trims things down quite a bit. Now I'm looking at the 0.2 to 100. I like starting there and then whittling the list down. So I like to come in with no like specifics. I'm not coming in and saying I'm looking for 5 to 10 acres. I come in, I'm saying I'm looking for 0.2 to 100 or whatever the example is. I want to go as wide as possible. And then once we start looking at the markets, then I'll start figuring out, okay, what acreage ranges are actually in demand. So for example, if we come down here and we're looking at Forsyth County, it's definitely a mispronunciation. Um, Strong market on the point twos to 100. So then it's like, okay, what is actually moving the volume here, right? Is it the 1 to 5 acres? We'll hit apply and let's see. And so what I'll start to find the pockets where there's the most demand. So the 1s to 5s don't really seem to be moving and grooving. What about the 5s to 10s? Um, and so I start top down. I get the full perspective on the market. I find those little Goldilocks brackets, right? I find the Goldilocks zones that have the most demand. So, for example, 5 to 10 acres, super strong, 214% sell through rate in the last 1 year. That's incredible. That would be a range that I would want to market to, where I might not want to market to the 1 to 5 acres because there really wasn't anything exciting happening there. Now, the reason I actually wouldn't work in this market more than likely, even though the numbers are really strong, the problem here is it's just way too obvious. I'm competing with new home builders, entitlers, realtors, house wholesalers, land investors. Everyone's working in Winston-Salem, not just people that are flipping land, but people that are going to accidentally or intentionally market to landowners. And so if you think about that market like a highway, there's a lot of traffic on that freeway. I want to avoid that gridlock, right? I want to be where I got 4 lanes, open road, no speed limit. It's a freaking Autobahn and go as fast as I want. So instead of taking this more obvious market, let's go back here and go what were we looking at? 0.01 to 100? I forget. Um, we'll come back here and we'll see what the scoop is. So again, I'm just going to go kind of off the rip here. This is interesting, right? Franklin County. Part of the reason I find this interesting, one, I've never even heard of it. That's always somewhat telling. Is this in your vernacular? Or is this in like your sphere of understanding? If it's not, it's probably not in other people's sphere of understanding. I know it's relatively rudimentary, but like sometimes when I look at a market, I'm like, dude, I've never even heard of this part of the country, and yet it's very hot. I actually really like that. But the thing that I look at as well is just visually, there's not a whole lot going on here, right? Visually, it's a very homogenous market. There's no big metropolitan areas. I don't see any, huge national parks, or it's not, bordering the ocean in San Diego or some kind of crazy natural feature. It's just really vanilla, yet the math is strong. And so you start to figure out, okay, when we talk about demand, we're looking at the math, right? We're looking at the math. But when we talk about non-obvious, we're kind of going off of vibes. And that's why I think great land investing is both an art and a science at the same time. The science is you got to find the right supply zones. You've got to find the right sell-through rates. You've got to find the right Gini index. Like there's a lot of specific things that we can quantify that we need to see for the markets we choose, but that's not enough because we want the demand, but we want it in a place that's just off the beaten path, frankly. And that's why something like Land Insights is so dope, because I just can come in here and it's going to show me the full country. So I got to make these relative comparisons for the entire country, where a lot of land investors come in and they're a little more, I don't know, dogmatic, let's say. They're like, hey, I only work in Texas, so I'm only going to work in Texas. And you're missing potentially other amazing markets throughout the rest of the country. So that's just like a really simple way to think about market selection. Literally, all of your success or lack thereof does flow down from the decisions that you make in market selection. You can do deals in any market. You could technically sell land in any market, but I'm like, let's just stack the odds in our favor, right? Let's take the 30 minutes a week to go and use Land Insights, scour the US, find the honey holes, and stack the odds in our favor and maybe go make $1 million in 6 months. Why not, right? That comes down from being in the right markets, right time, right place, all of that good stuff. So hope this helps. Guys, if you want to get a little deeper and you want me to kind of audit your business, see exactly where you're at, where you're looking to go, and then kind of show you how what we call the mid-market land flipping system, the model that we've created inside of Leah, may make sense for you to either start your land business or scale your land business. Go over to landinvestor.co/YouTube. We just opened this up actually last week. It's our 90-day game plan call. Essentially, we'll audit wherever you're at, build out a 90-day game plan, and you'll leave with clarity, confidence, all of that good stuff. Now, if you're a right fit for Leah, of course, we'll talk about Leah. If not, we'll send you on your way, no problem. If you're saying, Sumner, I'm brand new, does this make sense for me? Yes, if you're brand new, this is exactly where I would start. On the other side of the spectrum, you're saying, Sumner, I've been in this business for some time, but I'm struggling. Does this make sense for me? Absolutely. But if we think about who Leah serves, it's people that are just getting started. Like this might be their first land investing video ever, and they book a call. Or it's folks that have been in the business for some time, but they don't have the results to show for it. And let me tell you, there is a sea of people in that category. So, anyways, guys, appreciate the time. I guess I hope this was helpful. See you in the next one. Take care of yourself. Be well. Peace and love.